pulmonary vein. Okay, so that's D. The vascular pressure that declined from roughly 35 millimeter mercury to about 18. That's from arterial end to the beginning of venule end, and we call it capillary hydrostatic pressure. Okay, that's the one. Answer should be A. Which class of leukocyte is particularly abundant in red pulp of the spleen? The red pulp is for recycle of red blood cell, and so there is a macrophage to swallow them. So the answer should be A. Number 4. Another student missed this question. If the blood vessel resistance double, what is the blood flow? The first thing you have to know that equation. Flow proportional to P and inverse proportional to R. And so in this case, we just look at R. If R become double, okay, so that's half. Okay, that's why double, R become double. If I change the question, if the blood vessel, I don't say resistance, I say blood pressure double, and what is the flow? Now I'm talking about pressure, and so if I say pressure is double, then FR equal to what? If this one double, then S2, okay? This one double, that's half, okay? Only the radius or diameter is the proportional to the force power. So if R equals to 2, then F should be 2 for force power 16. Okay? P will be the same proportion. R will be less. Radius will be force power. Okay? These three factors you should know that. It's always a test question. Thoracic duct drain the lymph from all the area. Is covered basically on the left side and the lower limb, except right side, upper part of the right. So right breast is not. Right breast is carried out by right lymphatic duct. Okay. All right. So that is the one. Now we can go to chapter 23. Last time at the end of the lecture, I mentioned about lower respiratory system, including the larynx, trachea, bronchi, or small one. Or the small one is bronchitis, and terminal bronchitis, respiratory, and alveoli. Okay. And now we follow this sequence. My slide may be not continue, but if we go to the first part, larynx, I put first 1 here. And you have to know is the area contain 9 pieces of cartridge. 3 single one, and pair one, thyroid cartridge, cricoid, epiglottis. 3 pair one, arytenoid, corniculate, and cuneiform. I emphasize the red coloring is more important, okay? But you have to know all of them. And the opening, the hole from the top go to the bottom, we call glottis. And that's the first part. That's the first part 1 here. And then we go to the 2. First there's 1 here. And then we have the second slide, A, B, C, D, E. Now we're talking about we had two ligaments and cover skin we call folds. Vestibular on the top, vocals on the bottom. On the vocal cord had highly elastic. Okay, so the other name for vestibular fold will be the false vocal cord. Not true, it's a false. Okay, but the function is for protection. Then the sound production mechanism is vibration we call phonation. The echo from the chest we call articulation. And we had medical term, laryngitis, infection of this larynx area. And so that is the B item talking about, still the one here. Okay. Now we go down to the trachea. There will be the side. Okay. The first, we know the epithelium cell is pseudo stratified CD8 column epithelium cell. I just put it easy way for you to memorize. PESCC. Okay. Just know it had a cilia, then a hair-like structure to move up the mucus. The mucus could be majorly produced in the mucus gland, very deep in the submucosa. They also had a little bit we call goblet cell or mucus cells on the surface. Totally, we have 15 to 20 trachea cartridge, and the last piece we call carina is in the lower part of the trachea. This part here. See, that's thyroid cartridge, cricoid cartridge, and then will be trachea cartridge, C-shaped normally, and sometimes it's a double C. Okay. And on the back side it's not cartridge, it's a muscle connect. And the last piece is a V-shaped structure we call carina. Okay. Carina. Last year I had a student in my class, and her first name is Karina. Okay. I don't know if it's related to the trachea. It's Karina. Exactly the same thing. And from here we branch to right and left primary bronchi. Let's go back to the slide here. We continue to say this one. The trachea is not complete circle, it's C-shaped. The last part of it connect by smooth muscle called trachealis muscle. And this one is controlled by sympathetic nerve. Sympathetic nerve cause a muscle relax. To relax, they will increase diameter of the trachea. Let's take a look at the slide here. This one show you in the front side as a cartridge. On the back side will be trachealis muscle, and behind it will be esophagus. Okay, so this is a C-shape. The inner epithelium cell, we call it respiratory epithelium cell, including attached to the tracheal muscle, and it all belong to pseudo-stratified ciliate column epithelium cell. And that broad, yellow color here is trachealis cartridge. That means that you can see the chondrocyte inside that. And muscle is here. I want you to look at this under the microscope, okay? And our new edition book didn't show very well the quality, okay? So cannot see very well this trachealis muscle. We do have slide from the other small animal. Then you can see that's esophagus, that's trachea, and that should be C-shaped cartridge. But when we prepare the tissue, we cut it and push too much pressure, so this two C-shape will touch each other. Actually not. It should be separate, and in between there should be muscle. Okay. I do have better slide showing that that's terminal of the C-shaped cartridge. You can see the control side, and the other terminal. Sometimes from angle we can cut the whole piece, and you see the muscle here. Okay, from this end to this end. Okay, that's trachea's muscle, and when trachea's muscle relax, and the diameter will increase. Let me go back to here. When this muscle contract and make the diameter smaller, and it's controlled by parasympathetic. But during the exercise, it will relax, and then the C shape will open wider, and we can get more oxygen. Okay. In the lab this week, I wanted to check this trachea cartridge. I want you to check respiratory epithelial cell. I want you to check this trachea's smooth muscle. Okay. And you can add here parasympathetic will cause contraction and reduce the diameter and reduce the air volume pass through the trachea. Now we go down to Karina, and then we had right in the left bronchi, a single we call bronchus, right a little bit straight, and also bigger than the left side. So if by accident the foreign object like food enter to this right primary bronchus, usually it goes to the right side. Okay. For the lung, the blood vessel and the nerve fiber, they get in and out. We call hilum or hilus. Is from the back side. And right lung and left lung a little bit different. Right lung has 3 lobes. Left lung only has 2 lobes. And so the secondary bronchi go to each lobe. So right side has 3, and left side has 2. Okay. And that's the other example. Our body, right side and left side, sometimes they are different. Okay, let's take a look at the lung. Okay, lung here, maybe a bigger side. Look at the right lung. This anterior view, we have 3 lobes, and they had a future. That means the gap in between. That is the right lung. And the left lung, because heart is located here, so we call cardiac notch. And they only have two lobes. And different from the heart is on the low part we call apex, but here in the lung on the upper part we call apex. Okay, and on the bottom here we close to diaphragm we call base. Just reverse compared to the heart. Okay. Heart, L-top, the area we call base, and on the lower part here we call epic. Just reverse. Now we turn to the other side, posterior side, and then we can see artery coming in and out, nerve fiber, and lymphatic vessel, and we call this hilum. Okay. All right, then don't need to worry about arterial vein. Sometimes you cannot see very well. I have to go back to the other one to show you secondary bronchi. In the right side, they should have 1, 2, 3. In the left side, they only have 2. I think later on I have a better slide to show you. Okay, now lung, just like heart, they also have 2 serous membrane. outside we always call parietal. Parietal pleura means the lung membranes. Inside is visceral pleura, the inner membrane. And in between we pleura cavity. And they contain pleural fluid. And inside the pressure is more negative pressure in this pleural cavity. We will mention this later. So very similar to the heart, right? Okay, take a look at this. The right lung and the left lung is completely independent. So if some person lost one lung, let's say because cancer or something, that person still can survive, no problem. Okay. And if we amplify, you can see parietal pleura touch to the thoracic wall here. Okay, very tiny one. And they have pleural fluid in between the pleural cavity, and the visceral pleura will be just cover the lung. And so in our lab, the model, we see the lung. The surface membrane is, we only see the visceral pleura. Okay, we don't see the outside, the parietal pleura. Just like heart. Okay, the surface of heart is also visceral pericardium. Okay, and so that you can see right in the left there have all this pleural cavity complete close this one, only allow this primary bronchi go through. Okay, so they complete. And in between these two membranes, that pleural cavity that contain pleural fluid, the pressure is more negative than inside. So they can suck in, help to suck in the air. All right. If we take a look for the terminal, and you can see the lung, we amplify a little bit. Outside is parietal pleura, and we have pleural cavity that just above, this two is above the diaphragm. And then we have visceral pleura right here. Okay, and then we have a lot of septum. And the terminal is the bronchus. Okay, bronchus. Alveolus, sorry. This alveolus. And then a lot of this arterial carry the oxygen flow, so we put blue color. And the vein, we put fresh oxygen, we put a red color. This one I'll tell you later. We do have a model in the lab like this. All right, so here I just amplify a little bit, the same thing. Okay, parietal pleura is outside, visceral pleura is inside. In between is pleural cavity, right side and left side. Right lung and left lung, they are completely independent. During the air come in and out, inhalation or exhalation, intrapleural pressure inside the lung, I mean in the alveolar, the difference is from +1 to -1 compared to the atmospheric pressure. But inside the pleural cavity, intrapleural pressure will be from the -3 to -6. It's more negative. Okay. Again, let me see this slide again. Okay, this one again. This one from the new version, you can see right lung has 3 lobes and left lung has 2. And right lung have 3 secondary. They put different color. Bronchi, 3, 1, 2, 3. Each secondary go to 1 lobe, and the left lung only had 2. And when we continue to go down, only the primary bronchus, you can see it outside the lung tissue. The secondary actually is buried inside the lungs. The secondary you cannot see it. In this case, is the left lung, you can see two secondary bronchus, and continue to go tertiary, smaller bronchi, and they may have many branches. We just put something simple, okay? And terminal bronchus is still the pathway cannot exchange the air, only reach to the respiratory bronchus, a little bit above this alveolus. Now we go to the small one, we call bronchus, just like arterial. Some of them change the epithelial cell to cuboid, and is again controlled majorly by sympathetic pathway. It will cause the muscle, smooth muscle relax, and all the way from trachea to bronchus, increase airway diameter and get more oxygen. And we call it bronchodilation. Bronchodilation. Wider this airway and then increase respiratory effect and more oxygen. Okay. Parasympathetic just opposite. Increase the tension of smooth muscle and decrease the diameter, and we call bronchoconstriction. So very common symptom allergy or asthma is because what? Is because bronchoconstriction. It causes the muscle to constrict and decrease airway, decrease airflow, and also the mucus increase and prevent the air to pass. And so asthma and allergy very similar. Asthma is actually more acute effect, okay? And some other disease in the lung we call pneumonia, and some we call TB, tuberculosis. They are different. Pneumonia is the infection, the flu accumulate in the terminal of alveoli. It's not in the pathway, in the terminal. It's not in the bronchioles. Okay. Tuberculosis, TB is the bacterial infection, and it's not only found in the lung. It also can be any part of our body organ. Okay. I'll go more detail on that. I'll give you a little bit review from all the airway, starting from the nasal cavity above this soft palate, nasopharynx. They're all PSCC, pseudo certified serial compound. And then through the mouth area, we have oropharynx, laryngopharynx shared with the foot, and that changed to certified squamous. Just think about foot, just think about like esophagus is certified squamous. And then go to lower part, the lower respiratory area, that means the trachea, in the trachea and bronchus. Okay. Only in the very terminal, they change it to the cuboid. And the end will be alveolus, there will be simple squamous. For gas exchange, it should be very flat, very small there. Tell you more about the pneumonia. I copied this from the other textbook. The left-hand side shows you the normal case. The spot here means air, oxygen or CO2. They can directly touch to the borderline of alveolus and exchange with through the blood vessel capillary. Pneumonia can be caused by bacterial, virus, or fungi or parasite, and any kind of pathogen, and it accumulate the fluid. The black color here means kind of water, okay, and so they reduce the space for gas exchange, and so that is majorly attack alveoli, and so cause the person majorly is cough, fever, sputum, a lot of mucus. most symptoms is short of breath, just cannot get enough the air and chest pain. Okay, and so it's different from asthma. Okay, asthma is because bronchoconstriction control the smooth muscle or the airway pathway, and so cannot get enough the air to move in. Okay, so two terms very important: bronchodilation, bronchoconstriction. In the blood, vasodilation, vasoconstriction, and this one you just know. Dilation, that means get more air, is controlled by sympathetic pathway. And constriction means less and controlled by parasympathetic. Now we go to the deep, the terminal here, we call alveoli. Small pathway we call alveolar duct. Each lung has 150 million alveoli. It's a lot. Okay, and then different type. Type 1, type 3, and this alveolar macrophage. Sometimes we call type 3. Okay, let's go to the cell first. Oh, that's alveolar. All right. That's alveolar here. And several of them will form like a sac, so we call alveolar sac, a terminal. At the cross section, we just see some the outer part of this thing look like bigger space, and they do have a hole to connect each other. And then several of them will form alveolar duct. Okay, alveolar duct will connect to respiratory bronchioles, small one here, and then this terminal bronchioles has some smooth muscle. Air cannot exchange with the blood capillary. Only very tiny part here. This one is not show very well. Let me show you some slide. This one again, alveolar duct, single alveolus. And here's alveolar sac. When we cut it, it looks like that. And outside we do have capillary. Okay, we put blue color and red color, but actually the real one is just blood vessel. But outside of it, we do have elastic fiber to hold the shape of alveolar. And in this model, they show you that this one, elastic fiber. Okay, you see some of them. In our model, we put a gray color. Okay, it's just fiber. It's not blood vessel. Okay, some of them just fiber. Now take a look at this. This one is more clear view to look at single alveolus. Okay, and then if we cut through it, we call alveolar sac here. That's alveolar duct, and then the respiratory bronchioles. This part, the air still can exchange, but terminal, that one you don't see some alveolus in the on top of it. In the terminal bronchial, gas cannot exchange. And if we cut it, this one make it very funny scale. If we think about alveolus like a soccer, if we cut through it, okay, we just see a circle cross section, but they show you inside. Here, actually, we only can see a cross section, a circle, but they show you a ball. We cut through the middle, and where's the inner part there? Okay, and each part here is individual epithelial cell. We call type 1 cell, and that had a name. Okay, yeah, type 1 pneumocyte, the lung cell. That's the one we cut through it. It's a very flat, so it's simple squamous. And if the whole piece outside look like a soccer, and that would be the same. It's actually this one and this cell is the same, but we just cut through it. And we have type 2 cell, type 2 cell, this one is produce a chemical called surfactant. And then type 3 is this macrophage, alveolar macrophage. Okay, let me see if I better. Oh, okay, cut through it. And so when we cut through it, actually there's one alveolus. Okay, single alveolus. And nearby had a lot of capillary, and so they can gas exchange very quickly. And we do have this type 2 cell produce surfactant to maintain the structure, prevent the collapse of our alveolus. And we have free moving around this macrophage. They can cross one cell to the one alveolar to the other alveolar. And look at that, we have a lot of this epithelial cell. All right, now if we cut through this blood vessel capillary and alveolar, and how we can see is the slide here. That's blood capillary. We have a lot of red blood cell, and that will be the endothelium cell, in the nuclear, and endothelium, that cell, very very flat, tiny one. And this type 1 cell, this pneumocyte type 1 cell, is also very very flat here, and we call this membrane called this alveolar membrane, and we call this can exchange the gas. So that means from the CO2 from the alveolar, we get fresh oxygen. We can diffuse to here. From the capillary, they have CO2. They can diffuse to alveolar here. And look at inside this alveolar epithelium. We have something coating in the inner surface. We call surfactant. It's a kind of lipid material. Okay, let me just show you the structure first. Okay, if we cut through the lung, and first thing you see is each individual alveolus, this individual alveolus, a single one, and several of them joined together is a sac. Okay, and then if there is a pathway, there will be duct. This one cannot see very well, but we do have better slide. Okay, this one I get it from our lab. Okay, when you look at this one, just look at a single alveolus. Okay, and when you cut through this one, it's alveolar sac. Several of them joined together, and this terminal alveolar sac, and then have a pathway to go, and here also had a pathway to go. Okay, and this one probably is to this terminal bronchioles. Okay, and you can see that another alveolar sac here. Right, so let's go back to our slide here. Okay, type 1 cell is simple squamous epithelium cell for the gas exchange. Type 2 cell, the other name called septal cell, release surfactant. That is kind of lipizing to reduce surface tension and then maintain the shape of alveolus to prevent the collapse. Alveolar macrophage, the other name is dust cell, because some dust also will go to the alveolar, and this macrophage can swallow the dust. Okay, and that's phagocytosis effect. So from the terminal is a single alveolus and several of them we call alveoli, alveolar sac and alveolar duct, and go to the respiratory bronchioles. We have some term called respiratory distress syndrome. That's a genetic problem if the person length of this DNA to produce enough surfactant from type 2 cell or sector cell, and the alveolar easily get collapsed. And this symptom usually found in the young age of children. Okay. That's genetic problem. Emphysema is happen usually in adult. That's because single alveolus swell to maybe 5 times, 10 times, and just a big space and lost the connection with the blood capillary. And it could be due to the cigarette smoking or toxic gas. People working on chemistry, manufacturing company could be this one. So alveolar will expand 5 to 10 times, and the capillary would deteriorate, and that leaving just become a large non-functional air cavity in the lung. Okay. Say more about the surfactant. It's an oily secretion that contains phospholipid and coating the inner surface of this every alveolar. And so I'll show you 2 conditions. This one, right side, a little bit normal side, you can see the single alveolus. And emphysema person, this one got the damage is, this one is not alveolar sac, it's single alveolus. It's single alveolus. And so that means it's spent too much but lost the connection. And this one show you the same thing, okay? This is single alveolus. And it's quite bigger than the normal one. Here I know, and the normal one to compare. The other thing besides this, the disease I mentioned, the other one is cancer. Okay, usually because this epithelial cell grows uncontrolled growth. It 80-90% relate to smoking, and usually the first sign is cough, okay, and weight loss. Okay, there could be different types. Don't worry about it. Small cell and the non-small cell. Don't worry about that one. And it's related to the behavior of smoking. They started in the past 100 years, and they find out cigarette consumption in the men starting from early 19, and reached the peak probably 1940. And what is the percentage of the lung cancer increase? Maybe 20 years later, from 1920, and had a peak in maybe 1970. Okay, but right now a lot of people reduce the smoking, and so their cancer a little bit decrease. Okay. Say more about the TB. Okay, it is caused by the bacteria, and it can be infected through the air, so coughing or sneezing or any flu. Okay. Special thing is after attack, it will create a scar tissue, a black spot. So it detected by X-ray on the chest, and they always have kind of cough. It's always the same. Okay. Yeah, I will not go into detail for that thing. TB can be located in different organs. It's infected by bacteria. It could be TB found in a stomach or small intestine. Okay, so not only lung. Okay. In the lab, I will show you the detail on the structure. Okay, but make sure the arterial end is carried the oxygen blood from pulmonary artery. Then the fresh oxygen carried by vein, they will go to the finally pulmonary vein. So the same thing I just mentioned there. So in the lab, I will ask you is if you can locate this one single alveolus and you amplify 10 times, maybe not quite clear. You amplify 40 times, and you can see very well that single type 1 cell. Okay. And then you probably very difficult to find this type 2 cell or this alveolar macrophage. Okay, that's about the structure. Now we can go a little bit more to the physiology part. The first, we know we had two terms: external respiration. That means something happened in the lung, the gas exchange. We call it permanent ventilation or alveolar ventilation. Internal respiration is very interesting. Every cell will need oxygen, and the other name we call it is cellular respiration. Gas exchange between all cell and capillary exchange. And so this one you cannot see the internal respiration. All we can see is external respiration. And couple terms, hypoxia and anoxia. This one means hypoxygen. I mean the oxygen level is too low. Anoxia means no oxygen, and that because the stroke. So some brain tissue cannot get oxygen. The cell only can last about 5 minutes. Heart attack, I mean the coronary artery got blockage, and cardiac muscle cannot get oxygen. They only can last about 5 minutes to survive. Okay. Some law. First one is Boyle law. I think you know this from chemistry, right? If the temperature is constant, the pressure is inversely proportional to volume. You have higher pressure, you have less volume. And air always flow from the high pressure to low pressure. Pressure high always push it equal to the low pressure. And give you one example. If we have the fixed states at one spot meaning air, let's say oxygen. Okay. If we reduce the volume and then pressure increase, if we increase the volume and then pressure reduce. A good example is here. If air is not in and out, pressure outside atmospheric and on the lung will be the same. And if the outside pressure is greater than inside, and then the air means move in. Just know air always coming from high pressure to low pressure. And if the inside pressure greater than outside is less than inside, the air will move up. So very simple, okay? Pressure inside is greater, air up. Inside is less, air in. The same is no air in or out. Okay. Let me finish this part, and probably we can take a break. Okay. Some term called respiratory cycle. In the heart, we have cardiac cycle. Cardiac cycle means systolic and diastolic. Systolic, contraction or relaxation. And this one means inhalation or exhalation. I mean in and out. So the other name is inspiration and expiration. Okay. Compliance. You have to follow something we call compliance. And this one, the term here for the lung, I mean how easy the lung can increase the size. So usually high compliance means easy air in and out, and so that means good lung function. And low compliance means difficult, right? And what factor will affect that? Connective tissue of the lung, in any kind of alveolar damage. and they will lower the compliance. Surfactant also important. Surfactant will sustain the alveolar, prevent the collapse. So if surfactant is lower, then the compliance is also lower. Mobility of the thoracic cavity, I mean the muscle and the rib, okay, and if easy to move and the muscle is all healthy, and that means increase this compliance. But only one exception. Usually higher compliance means a better lung function. But in the emphysema, people have smoke and the damage to the lung. One single alveolus expand 5 or 10 times. I mean, air very easy to move in, so by definition is higher compliance. Easy, air move in. But just move in to the alveolar cannot reach to the blood capillary, and so the lung function is low. Okay, compliance high, but lung function is low, because air only move into the chest, the terminal of alveolar, but then alveolar lost the blood capillary. Okay, so this one don't get confused. Okay, so if I ask you, emphysema person, that their lung compliance is high. For the gas exchange, the lung function low. Okay. All right, I think we take a break, and we come back talking a little bit about pressure. Let's say about 7 minutes. Okay.